very good morning to all the panelists, the keynote speaker, and my dear students. I, Anupama, on behalf of the faculty, management, and the students of SRM ISD, would take immense pleasure to welcome the keynote speaker of the day, Mr. Arun Jain, the Chairman and Managing Director, Intellect Design Arena Limited. Arun Jain is the founder of Polaris Group and Chairman and Managing Director of Intellect Design Arena Limited, the world's first full spectrum banking and insurance technology product company. Intellect powers over 240 leading global banks and financial institutions with a revenue of 1351 crores and an employee base of over 4,000. Mr. Arun commenced his entrepreneurial journey by setting up Nucleus Software Workshop in 1986, Polaris Software in 1993, and Intellect in 2011. As an evangelist of design thinking, his brainchild, FinTech 8012, the world's first design center at Chennai, dedicated to financial technology, came into being. With a constant drive to better the community around him, he instituted Mission Samruddhi, a social impact enterprise dedicated to holistic human development in India. Ulla's Trust, a social impact organization working towards igniting less privileged young minds into realizing their true potential, and startup Nucard, a unique initiative for budding entrepreneurs to understand their purpose and nurture and mentor their innovating thinking using 10x model. Mr. Arun has been nominated as a chairperson of the Board of Governors of Indian Institute of Information Technology, Ranchi, Jharkhand, India, by Honorable President of India for a period of 3 years with effect from 2nd September 2020. He is entrusted with the responsibility of the Chief Mentor of FinTech Center of Excellence at STPI, Chennai, set up by Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, in association with ELCOT, Government of Tamil Nadu. He holds and has a lot of prestigious positions in various other forums like National Software Product Mission, National Institute of Electronics and Information Technology, Confederation of Indian Industry, Madras Management Association, and the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Arun, by profession, holding a degree in electrical engineering from Delhi College of Engineering, has been bestowed with numerous accolades, including the Dronacharya Award 2019 by Taikon Chennai, CII Lifetime Achievement Award, Lifetime Achievement Award at the Design Thinking Conclave and Awards 2018, Indo-Asian Business Initiative Award, Rotary Clubs for the Sake of Honor Award, Lions Club International Award for Youth Empowerment, Pathfinders Award for Excellence in IT and ITES, recognized by the Times Group, ICICI Venture CII Connect Entrepreneur Award, Lions Club International Award for Youth Empowerment, and Business Mentor Award by Vikatan Group, one of the South India's leading media powerhouses. With a legacy of 93 years, Vikatan Group has been a pioneer in the media space in South India. Dear Arun sir, we are very privileged to have you here. So over to you, sir.
Thank you for a long introduction. So it's humbled me for the introduction you played. Welcome all the students who are joining this session. This is an exciting time in your journey. When you join engineering college, I recollect 42 years back when I joined the engineering college in 1978 at Delhi College of Engineering, how exciting it could be when you join a new engineering college. And you come with a lot of dreams, visions, excitement of moving from school to college. I think all are part of that journey, which is unforgettable throughout the life. And this is a time when we were discussing how do you prepare the design mind? And what is the design mind? This is a topic I was discussing when you join first year. That's a place where it's a seed of creativity, seed of innovation, and seed of doing a lot of things comes in your mind. And how do you structure it? How do you organize it? And that's the design mind I'm talking about. And design mind, the way we design everything around you, the way you design your career till now. You must have designed your career when you were in 9th standard. You would have chosen certain subjects. Then you have designed your career when you were in 11th, other point of time. You design your home. You design the way you study. Similarly, there's a science of design mind to be more effective in the next 4 years of your journey in the institute. So I'll take you the experience and learning the boundaryless world with a feeling of joy and without fear. So the learning process of this human mind, how do you look at a boundaryless world? Have you seen the birds in the sky? And they sit on the tree. On the same tree, there is a crow, and the same tree, there is a parrot, and the same tree, there is a pigeon. They sit on the same tree. They don't fight with each other. There's the only community in the world which don't fight with each other for the space. Any thought why they don't fight with each other? When I look at it, the only answer I can get, which may be possible answer, I don't know the exact answer because I can't talk to the bird and understand their language. The only answer I can interpret is that they live in a three-dimensional world. For them, they can fly anywhere in any place and any tree, and they're not in a two-dimensional space. So as an engineer, when you have become a three-dimensional space, then your mind becomes design mind. So I divided my conversation into 5 chapters. Chapter number 1 is design the future in your mind first. So first of all, what are the futures you want to feel? You have to design it in your mind. I'll tell you the story over here. I'm come from Delhi, so I was traveling to Delhi to Jaipur on one highway, and I was curious in the middle when their stone cutters are there and overcutting the stone, and I stopped by and asked a first stone cutter, "What are you doing?" His response was, "Oh, I'm just cutting the stone from the hard rocks. The big hard rocks are there. I'm cutting the stone from them." I went down another 100 meters and asked the same question to second person and asked, "What are you doing?" They're saying, "I'm cutting the stone and making a wall for making the wall. This because stone of the right size will be helpful for making the right wall." I went forward and asked the same question to the third person. "What are you doing?" He says, "Sir, I am cutting the idol from the stone, which will be residing in the temple where many people will come to see the temple and worship the temple." And I think that all the 3 were doing the same job. Like all of you who are joining the engineering college will be studying the similar things or similar courses. But how you look at the perspective, what you are doing will make a huge difference. And that's the designing the future, what I'm calling about. I would suggest you have to visualize yourself in 2030. 10 years from now, how you like to see yourself as. I would like you to, if you have a pen and paper in your mind, paper with you, I know you can draw right now because the time is short in this conversation, but I would say over the weekend, take a large A4 paper, design your future, how does it look like in 2030? Where we will be, which company you will be working for, what kind of company you will be working on, not which company, what kind of a company you will be working for, or will you be doing your own business, what you want to do. So a lot of people, Abdul Kalam ji saying, dream big. Now put that visualization, convert into dream, write down the dream in diary. Some diary you create, personal diary you must create when you're joining the engineering college, in which you can write your observations on weekly basis or daily basis, depending upon how much time you have. In engineering college, you are very busy. Maybe just take out a time on Saturday evening or Sunday evening, just write your observation. And in that diary, the first page, you write your dream. Once you write a dream, have conviction about the dream. You start living that dream in your mind before it actually happens. So dream of 2030 should be part of your living memory and body cells memory, and commit to it wholeheartedly. So that's the first step. You want to look at it. What is your dream? I'll give you 2 minutes time just to write your dream on a sheet of paper. Whatever paper is in front of you, write down your dream in 2030, what you like to be. So I'll just take 2 minutes time. Dream should be such that it should create fear. It should not be conservative. If you're not, it doesn't create fear in your backbone, it's not a dream. Your potential is unlimited. And the right dream is important right now, how big it may be. And it's not necessary what resources you have. It's not dependent on current resources what you have. Whether you have money, not money, friend circle, you're coming from a small town and coming to big town. Don't worry about anything of that nature. And some of the dream you can share in a chat bot if you want to share, but otherwise we can move on. So we finished 90 seconds. So I'm seeing a lot of dreams are coming. A lot of participants are entering a dream there. So a lot of clarity is there. So I'm seeing a lot of clarity is there in your mind of 2030, and that's more the clarity you bring and more you have conviction, you move forward on that. I put my diary in 1985 when I was completed my engineering, and on one night I was written a dream that I would like to be a chairman of public listed company. In 1985, I come from a large family with limited resources, with 10 siblings. I have 8 sisters and 2 brothers, and I'm 9th in that family. And I didn't know maybe in 1985 what is a chairman of publicly listed company means. But by 1999, we could able to launch Polaris as a publicly listed company. And I forgotten about this dream after I written it. And if you read on the top, it says, if you can dream it, you can do it. That's the Walt Disney slogan. And same slogan is with Abdul Kalam. Once you identify a dream, then identify some role models. When I passed out from my engineering college, J.R.D. Tata was my role model. He influenced my thinking process, the way J.R.D. Tata has built up the corporate sector in 1905, 1906, and setting up a steel plant there was very, very inspiring to me. And this role model can change over the period of time, but role model is important because they act as a compass, because you start living and taking some direction from that, and that act as a compass in your life. So these two things are first step of your design mind, that your mind has a clear dream, your mind has a clear role model. Then I move to chapter 2, how human mind learns. When we come to the college, we have classrooms. There's a specific learning happens in a classroom. But in each of the classrooms is one set of learning which happens. And there's a more ways human mind learns. First way the human mind learns is about observation. How you observe. So basically learning process happens from our senses. And observation is one of the most important element of learning process. If you look at, you studied trigonometry in your 12th standard or calculus in 12th standard. Can you tell me what is the purpose of this studying the calculus? Why do we need to study calculus, or why do we need to study trigonometry? When I was passed out from my engineering college, I never asked that question to myself, that what is the purpose of studying trigonometry. I knew all the formulas. I can score 100 out of 100 or 90 out of 100, but I didn't know the meaning of why trigonometry is studied. Some of the teachers in my school never told me what is the purpose of it? They start teaching me sine theta, cos theta, tan theta. And I start remembering those formulas and start scoring good marks. Do you know why somebody should invent trigonometry? Have you thought of it? Why should somebody invent trigonometry? When somebody has to measure the heights of a tall mountains or tall cliffs, how do you do the height of that cliff? That's the first starting point of the trigonometry. Then it's get applied by Madhavacharya to look at astronomical calculations using trigonometry. Because if you have to measure the distance of planets or the speed of planets, how they move, you need a power of trigonometry. So each subject which is being designed for you has evolved from some source and some curiosity of human mind, which has come from the observation first. When calculus was getting designed, and when Newton knew that gravity force is there, but he was not finding the acceleration, how the acceleration happens, and then he started differentiating on a time scale. So instead of designing the whole concept of the formula he was interested in, he designed the complete calculus, because calculus was means to solve his problem, his curiosity. And that becomes my differential calculus, where I'm differentiating items, and that becomes my integral calculus by integrating small pieces, and it becomes a full science of itself. The way electrical engineering is designed, the way you can look at magnets can create a charge, and that charge can be used when you generate a charge is one way of looking at generating electricity. And when you consume that electricity, it can become a motor. So it's a very interesting thing when each subject, when you look at from the human curiosity point and observe from that perspective, you will start enjoying the subject beautifully. Then you will start asking the question, why this formula is there in this particular manner. A lot of time we memorize the formula, but we don't ask the question, why a particular formula is there. And that comes from the observation around you, observation around any engineering thing which you are doing. Second way mind learns is the listening, active listening. We all listen, but we all know that what we want to listen. When you are watching TV at your home and your mother is calling and asking you to do something, you can ignore either TV or you ignore your mother, but you ignore somebody. But you listen to, your mind listens to both of it, but your mind decides which one you want to ignore. A lot of time when the classroom is happening, we can decide to ignore certain things, or we can listen to it intently. Active listening is a strong way for your learning mind to be sharp when particular lecture is happening, when you are watching a TED talk or watching a TED video. A listening is an amazing capability which is very, very strongly built. My daughter studied in Krishnamurti Foundation, and there one of the lectures they were sharing was that go and listen to the plants. So they given for 1 month that you have to go and sit in front of the plant and listen to see what plant is saying. Now you will say, what does it mean? Plant doesn't speak. And the message to them was that just stay there. You will listen to some small birds there, something else which is happening around it. And that built up a capacity for her to listen to a smallest bird and identify the voice of the bird. But I'm not saying that you should go to the plant and listen to the plant or tree. I'm saying active listening is a critical piece where your mind may be scattering in 3-4 directions. How do you concentrate your mind in a one direction? Third point is asking question. How do you get a curiosity in your mind when you were 5-year-old? You never used to worry about anything which comes to your mind, to ask question to your friend, your parents. Between 3 years to 7 years, you were not even seeing whether question is foolish or question is right or question is wrong. You just ask question. That innocence of asking question over the period of time, by the societal pressure, the family pressure, they say, oh, this is not a good question. There's nothing called a good question or bad question. Questions comes from curiosity. If you have a basic curiosity of a child, the questions will be there. So for what I spoke to you first, that how to measure distance between two planets was the curiosity of human mind, and that's how they designed that trigonometry as a way to solve the problem. A lot of questions may look foolish if somebody in 2000 years back or Madhavacharya period, that how to measure the distance of the planet, they would have said, what are you talking about? There's no way you can measure distance from moon to the earth during that period of time. And those questions would have looked fool for many situations. But if that question would not have been there, we would not have found that moon is 3,86,000 kilometers from the earth. That kind of a distances we would not have ever able to come to know about it. And engineering is a great subject or discipline where the more you ask a question, the more innovation you can create, more invention you can create. And question is the starting point of any invention. The fourth learning method is books. At one point of time, books are the very expensive books because it used to be printed in a limited number of quantities. Today, books are the cheapest material which is available around us. A complete knowledge of a particular subject you can obtain in a small book which could cost you between 200 rupees to 700 rupees. You can find a lot of details about it. If you want to read the biography of Walt Disney, or you want to read a biography of Steve Jobs, you want to read a biography of Bill Gates, whoever is a role model, and that history will be available to you in no time. You just have to order it, go through end to end, that how the Walt Disney started as a small cartoon maker and how did he build up a Disney world out of it. 20-30 years back, getting that book in libraries would have been difficult because in engineering library may not be like in DC library, Delhi College of Engineering library, such books will not be there. Only electrical engineering books would be there, or civil engineering or mechanical engineering books will be there. SRM may have a better library, you may get those books. But today those books on a Kindle, those books on Amazon is so easy to get of whoever role model is, or any subject of your interest or complementary interest. Make reading a habit. If you make a habit, you buy one book a month. By the time you complete your engineering, you will be completing 40 to 50 books in the full next 4 years' time. The fifth method of how mind learns when you're designing the mind, how you conduct dialogues. So dialoguing is a very different skill than discussion. A lot of time when I was in college, I think we used to fight for our opinions, then dialoguing. Dialoguing is a means the two people are there, they talk to each other, and they work on certain views, and they have certain knowledge, and that knowledge used to drive the entire conversation to some understanding of the subject much better. When you do the better dialoguing and listen, you communicate to each other, that's a great way of building confidence on that particular subject. So when you have a lecture in the daytime and you come back, spend some time in just dialoguing. What is your understanding of the subject and somebody else's understanding of the subject? What professor has taught you in the classroom? How do you dialogue with each other? You spend some 15 minutes time, half an hour time on just dialoguing. Your understanding, share those understanding. Or bring your own new perspective in that what was missing, what new questions can be there. That prepares that's how your mind will be designed towards better throughput and better understanding. The other method of at a group, if you have a 20 people group or 10 people group, you create a small group, we call circle time. Circle time is a process in which you sit around the circle and everybody speaks what his understanding on a particular subject is. You can do a circle time once a week or circle time once a month, where you can share what is your learnings of the month or what is the one item you enjoyed most in last 30 days, what you have So circle time, one person starts and everybody then go in a circle and speak about it, what he wants to celebrate with the group, what one knowledge he wants to celebrate, or one learning he wants to celebrate. And this could be done in a classroom or inter-classroom, or a people of the same interest groups, whether you're a sports team member or whether you're dance or you're music, among them. Circle time enables you to talk. Sometimes when people are coming from a rural town to urban town, or some government schools to the larger colleges, since I was coming from a government school and I joined engineering college, first 2 years I couldn't be able to speak in a college effectively. Because I used to feel that if I speak, my English is not appropriate. I will be making mistake in speaking English, and the people who are coming from public school were the only people who used to ask questions in the class. I never used to ask questions in the class, even if I don't have a clarification, I never used to ask a question. Because I didn't have I have an inhibition, and I have a self-belief that I'm not, I may make fool of myself in the class if I ask a foolish question. And I wasted my 2 years of my curiosity time by not asking those questions. The circle time will enable you to speak out, and once start speaking out, that fear and inhibition will go away. The next method of learning is your pattern recognition. We call it design thinking, observing patterns and anti-patterns. For designing any new things in the world, you need to observe certain patterns, the way a particular thing happens, and the way a particular thing fails to happen. And that's why the pattern recognition is a critical piece for understanding the connection between various items. Let me tell you the story over here. This is a real story of General Motors, where they received a complaint from one of the customer. He complained that, sir, I have a very interesting problem with my car. I bought a new car, Pontiac, from you. And that car, when I go with the family and in the evening we go, when we buy vanilla ice cream, it doesn't restart when I come back. And when we buy any other ice cream, strawberry or chocolate, then it starts. Now, this is a silly issue that how the car knows that it's a vanilla ice cream or a chocolate ice cream or strawberry ice cream. So the first response of the customer service officer was, what are you talking about? This doesn't look logical that mechanical device like car understand the difference between vanilla ice cream and chocolate ice cream and a strawberry ice cream. But he wrote again, and after second question, this customer service manager says, let me understand. If you are so genuine about it, let me go and understand or observe the pattern there. He came to the person and said, let me go with you, with the family to go to the ice cream shop and show me. So he bought a vanilla ice cream. They sat down on the car didn't start. They went out, bought a other ice cream. Next day they bought a strawberry ice cream. Car started regularly. Now again, that surprises the mechanic, that what is so great about strawberry and vanilla ice cream. Then he observed the pattern of the ice cream shop, that way how the ice cream shop is organized. In ice cream shop, he found that vanilla ice cream is in the front because that's a high in demand, and most of the 60% customer may be looking at the vanilla ice cream. So it's in the front desk. And vanilla, chocolate and strawberry was slightly far from the vanilla ice cream. And then there is a pressure wall, which requires some settling down time. So when you want to buy vanilla ice cream, it never used to settle down, and you restart. So because time taken for buying the vanilla ice cream was smaller than the time taken to buy out a strawberry ice cream by few minutes. And this time of vanilla was shorter. The car pressure wall never used to get settle down. And that resulted into non-starting of the. So problem was in that pressure wall, not in a ice cream. Now this kind of problem cannot be diagnosed unless I start recognizing the pattern and observing the patterns. And those patterns has to be observed very, very carefully. As an engineer, all the invention, innovations are around observing the patterns and how the patterns gets converted into sciences. The MP3 player, when we had MP3 design, sometime in 1989, somebody thought of it, if we can store a text into data form, can I store music in data form? Initially, that MP3 technology, though it was designed in 1989, it became popular in 2002 by iPod by Apple. So it took around 13 years to make a technology real viable technology. But design of this pattern that if I'm storing the data patterns of the text, I can store the data patterns of music was done way back in 1989. Now I'll tell you the seventh way of learning, which is a cataloging knowledge. The way we catalog library, we need to catalog our knowledge. Now if I say L0 means I put in a chart some x-axis and some y-axis. On x-axis I write, if I have 8 semester, how do I pick up which course I have to pick it up, and I will document on y-axis that I'll pick up M1, Physics 1, Chemistry 1, Engineering Graphics and Computer Programming in first semester. I'll do this semester in second quarter. So this is about overall understanding of what you want to do. But if you want to do next on it, I can take one subject and I'll say electromagnetic theory, and I'll take it chapter by chapter. How many chapters are there? So each course has got some 12 to 15 chapters in each course. If you draw on a single sheet of paper, there are 15 courses are there. And what is important in these chapters are organized horizontally, like electrostatics 1. It will be sources of electromagnetic fields, Coulomb's law, Gauss' law. Those are items of the first chapter. Human mind learns better when there's a finite visual diagram, because human mind is a visual mind. It learns better when I can see everything in one page. So if entire subject can be documented in one page, you will be able to understand, saying this is a finite learning I need to get in next 16 weeks or next 18 weeks. I need to learn about these 18 subjects and 18 topics. And these topics are organized from in a structured manner, in a single sheet. So this we found very, very effective in when we write our products in the intellect, the way we solve customer problem. We create L0, which is a level 1 document. Then we go into details, sources of magnetic field. We'll go to the L2 of that. And then we can do the detailing in L3. This is like cataloging knowledge, which will help you in designing your knowledge database more stronger, because everything will be visual image in your mind. So your retrieval will be much better when you are in the actual field. Then there's a techniques, a lot of memory techniques are there. One of the example is mind mapping, which I'm sharing over here. You go to internet, you'll find many memory techniques which will be available to you. And you can go in detail that you make a one common thread when you're taking notes in a classroom. You can make a one central theme, and then you keep having the branches. When professor is teaching, you keep adding the branches and sub branches of it. This will again help human mind to learn faster, because there's an anchoring at the center and the roads are going all across, and you can learn better. And finally, I would say Best learning is when you teach others. Take somebody, take the classroom, make a presentation back on your learning. Take a small circle time and you say, I want to make a presentation, or teach somebody else who is weak in that particular subject. And you learn from him. So he teaches you a particular subject and you teach other subject to him. So these are the 9 methods of learning when human mind learns. It learns from observation, just to repeat, active listening, asking questions, reading books, dialoguing and circle time, recognizing patterns, cataloging knowledge, memory, and teaching others. This is outside the professor what teaches you. So I'm not saying professor, you should not learn from the professor. That's what the classroom teaching is. This is outside the classroom teaching, which I'm talking about. Now, whether I talk to a lot of people in engineering colleges, say it's a tough. Initially, first year looks very tough for a lot of engineering students because in a school, there's a certain patterns you are doing it in engineering college. You have a very fast paced learning. And for that, how you enjoy that period, I say how to plan and enjoy work. Because work, when you start enjoying, it doesn't remain a work. Something when you say hard work, and I ask this question to many people, when you say hard work, what does it mean? It means you stop enjoying it. If you're enjoying, there's no difference between a sports and a work. Both are in the same space. First step is our effective planning. And all of us do effective planning in your 12th standard or in your childhood. Have you organized any family event in your home? Some birthday party, something happening around sports competition, or in school something being planned? How you used to do that work? Can you replay in your mind when you have to organize your birthday party? How do you start planning your own birthday party? Have you planned in the past? You must have planned multiple birthday parties. You must be 17, 18 years now. You must have planned 3, 4 parties. How did you go about doing it? You start planning 1 month in advance, 2 weeks in advance, 1 week in advance. Different people would have a different way to plan. Now, when we plan birthday party, I think we plan very efficiently. But if your same thing is to be planned in a education, sometimes we don't apply the same kind of intensity of planning as you would do to the birthday party planning. So effective planning is the first tool for enjoying the work. After your learning methods are clear, enjoying the work is the next step. And for enjoying the work, planning is the first step of any activity. The effective planners are there. There are many internet talks are there. There is various TED talks are there on the planning. Search for those talks. There are techniques of planning. Planning by itself is a science. The way we are learning electrical engineering, the way we are learning civil engineering, the mechanical engineering, the computer sciences, the planning is also a full semester course in management. And there will be enough elements available for around the planning. You can join some Coursera courses around planning, and that will help you to enjoy your workspace more clearly. And second step of planning is obviously managing your time. What kind of activities you have, club activities, coursework, the movie watching, the hobbies and interests, the friends and families, the physical fitness, all are part of your managing time. I think that's where when we stop proactively managing time. We always manage time, but is it reactive or proactive? If you start proactively managing the time and remain disciplined to it, that becomes important for design mind. Because it's the mind which says that please do this, please don't do this. And that's what you need to design it, that how will you look at the time management. If you say, I want to commit 4 hours per day for study, or 2 hours for entertainment, 2 hours with the friends, or 1 hour for the friends, you can distribute your time Monday to Sunday, differently. Some things are out. You can say, I will talk to my family on Saturday afternoon for 2 hours. It's okay. You can call them up and do that work, or you want to go to the movie once a week. It's all possible, but it has to be planned time. Third thing is about decision making. When I was a student, I think we procrastinate a lot of things. Kal kar lenge, agle hafte kar lenge. So we'll do it tomorrow, we'll do it next week. And that's a decision making which is required. When you are making a choices, make a choices firmly. Don't procrastinate to enjoy the work. For planning process, and you identify your key constraints in the planning. This is step number 4 for enjoying the work, is spot the key constraint. Give a disproportionate time to solve the constraints and make constraint positive for you, which can work in positive direction for you. Now, constraint could be that you are good in particular subject. You may love math, but you don't love chemistry. Or you love chemistry, but you don't love physics. It means the subject which you love, you may be stronger, and subject you don't like, maybe you're a weaker subject. If that is a weaker subject, spend more time in making that subject to be your stronger subject. Normally, as a student, we spend time in what is good, what we like. So we will be spending more time. If I love mathematics, I'll spend more and more time on mathematics. And what subject I don't like chemistry I don't like, I keep on spending lesser and lesser time in chemistry. Now, theory of constraint says that if I improve mathematics, I may improve 90% to 92% or 93%. But if I improve chemistry, where I get 60%, and I improve 20% of chemistry, I'll get 72 marks. So overall I improve. So my constraint I can solve better by learning the weaker subject rather than learning the stronger subject more and more. Next element comes, I think there's a Stephen Covey who's a management guru, and I'll recommend you to read that book. And the end I'll propose that you must buy that book. 7 Habits of Effective Leadership. You are going to be leaders of the future. He talks about one thing called important versus urgent. He draws 2 things, that a lot of work we have to do, a lot of activities are there in our life. But we need to classify the activities into 4 quadrants. First quadrant would be which is urgent as well as important. So on x-axis there is urgent and y-axis there is important. So first quadrant will be where all the activities are plotted, which is important and urgent. Second quadrant I have important but not so urgent. Third quadrant I have urgent but not so important. The third quadrant is not so urgent, not so important, which is the third quadrant. And fourth quadrant I would have urgent but not so important. So his point of view is we have to spend a lot of time in second quadrant, which is important but not urgent. So how do you spot important activity which are not urgent? If every activity becomes urgent, then we are jumping from one activity to second activity, which is not value added to your career. So go to the Stephen Covey chapter of balancing priorities or important versus urgent, and focus on important activity and don't let it come to the urgent segment. There will be some activity which will be urgent, which is something, some accident happen of your friend, something not working right, those will be urgent. But reduce urgent activities, maybe 10% to 20% of the total activities. And to enjoy the work, I think learn to work with a team. Now, if you look at F1 race, a lot of people, you must be watching F1 race. When they are come to the pit stop, do you take how much time does it take to change the tires? It used to take something like 10 seconds to change all the 4 tires at the pit stop. And by doing the teamwork, do you know the latest record on it? latest record is 1.6 seconds to change all the 4 records. The driver to put the brake, the entire team to put all the tires back, take out the tires and put the tires back. It takes 1.6 seconds today, is the latest record of converting this teamwork. So it's not about the speed of the car, of the driver, but the teamwork which happened over here and how the team coordination happens. So to enjoy the work, effective planning, time management, decision making, identify key constraints, balancing priorities, and teamwork. So there are 6 elements over here which drives your work-study balance or work-life balance, we call it in a corporate world, but it's the work or study-life balance in your case. So till now, what we have, just to recap, what we have studied, we studied first is for designing, preparing the design mind. First thing is I visualize it, I create a dream, I commit to dream, I design my compass as a role model. Then I understood there are 9 different ways of learning. So learning is not only one way of learning, and various people will pick up various different tools for learning. Among the 9 tools, you may not need all the 9 tools to learn. Somebody may pick up 5, somebody may pick up 6, somebody may pick up 7, pick up the learning tools. And then chapter 3, for design mind, how do you enjoy work? Your throughput is 2 to 3 times better when you enjoy your work, not as a force. When you see studying a particular subject is force on you, then you will not able to enjoy it. To make the enjoyment, the 6 elements: planning, time management, decision making, identify key constraints, balancing priorities, and teamwork. Now chapter 4 comes into, if you observe in your around the leaders, they may have done everything similar, but some people have more successes than others. And that I call it personal effectiveness. And where the personal effectiveness comes from in a design mind, because everybody has the same kind of a human mind, we all get the same mind. So first element is identify positive. Analyze your own personality. What is the elements which nature gifts comes to you? What comes to you naturally? Every human being, nature has given some talent which is unique to you. And we need to spot those natural gifts which comes to us by the nature. And that identification is my self-identity, which is a starting point for my personal effectiveness. From self-identity, it moves to self-image. There's a story in Ramayana that Hanuman forgot about what his strengths are. Rama has to show the strength of Hanuman to Hanuman himself. So recognize Hanuman in you. What is Hanuman sitting with you? What all is possible. It's not about your height, it's not about your weight, it's not about your physical strength, it's about your mental strength, which gives a self-image. A lot of time, we may have a great strength, but sometimes I get busy on handling doubts. We may have the answers to the problem, but we'll not raise hand when professor asks a question to us. Why didn't I raise the hand? Because I felt maybe I'm wrong. How many times it happens to you that you know the answer, but you never raise the hand when professor asks you to raise the hand? This is a doubt. This is a starting point of doubt. And this continues in your career, that you don't know how to deal with your doubts. If you can able to deal with your doubts better, your throughput can be multiplied, because you can be far responsive to the world environment and world situation and problem solving. Because every problem solving would have some doubts. Should I apply this technique of mechanical engineering, this technique of civil engineering, or this technique of electrical engineering, or this way of computer sciences? How you deal with the sciences of doubt is important over here. And the third, effectiveness area. Fourth is conflict. We shy away from the conflict. Can anybody define the definition of conflict? Though it's a classroom, so I can't ask the question of the conflict, what is the definition of conflict? Just reflect on it. What is conflict? From childhood, we have a conflict between two siblings, brother and sister. If sister is younger, she will have a conflict with brother on some space or some table or some time or something cooked at home. Or when we grow up in a classrooms, there will be conflict of resources. But what is the conflict? If you dissect the conflict and get into anatomy of the conflict can happen only on three things. There's a difference of opinion. So two siblings have a difference of opinion about a particular subject, or difference of expectation, or difference of perspective. You look at the same thing with different. A father will see the particular object in a particular way. A son will see it differently, or daughter will see it differently. There is a perspective difference. Father will look at it from a parents will look at from a perspective of safety of the child, while child may look at adventure, enjoyment in the activity. And that may result into conflict. And father will stop talking to son, or son will stop talking to the father, or vice versa. It may happen. And when you join the college, you will find multiple people have a multiple perspective. That's the beauty of the college. When you join SRM college, you have a 5,000 students. You can pick up the people of your choice, and you can pick up multiple perspective. Multiple states are coming in. People from North India will have some view of South India. South India will have different view of North India. North India a different view of Western India. Western India will have a different view of Eastern India, and all are perspectives. And how do we convert perspective to the positives? That each diversity which is brought in by other community can be so positive to learn, which I never got the opportunity of learning. When I was living in Delhi, I didn't know how the South India works, or vice versa. When I was in India, I didn't know how the American works. Then I learned how the American works and learned from them and applied some techniques in India. So this conflict is a very powerful source of learning. If you know conflict, whenever you have conflict, you must see that I have a new opportunity of learning a new perspective. If you convert that conflict into new learning of perspective, the entire conflict will get dissolved and your energy will be focused on the personal effectiveness much better. Just I was sharing one incident to me that South Indian food, when we come from North India, we don't like South Indian food. So when I came to Madras in 1990, I may not enjoy South Indian food. We have impression that South India food is only about dosa, idli, vada, and that's the impression North Indian carries about South Indian food. Then suddenly one fine morning, I found that why the South Indian food was designed the way it is designed. And I call it as a great design food in the world. It's one of the finest design which gone into the South Indian food design. Now, if I want to conduct a design workshop with all of you, I say how the South Indian food get designed. What is the objective of design? The food should be nutritious. It should be easy to cook. It should have zero waste. It should have variety. And so if you look at the objective, put the objectives together, and then you start looking at the food. South Indian food it was designed in near equator. It means heat is there. So it's a hotter environment throughout the year. So it means if you cook a food, and if you don't have a refrigerator 100 years back, there was no refrigerator in India or anywhere in the world. It was not designed 50 years back, or not 50, 70 years back. So food gets spoiled very quickly. Now, if you design that food which doesn't get spoiled, And why the food gets spoiled? Somebody observed there's a fermentation happens which spoils the food. So somebody designed the food that what for nutrition I need proteins and carbohydrates. So I take 1/3 dal and 2/3 rice, mix it and allow it to ferment. So fermentation, which is your adversity, you make it to an ally. And this combined mixture is allowed to ferment. And this fermentation, then you create a multi variety. So you say fermentation, I make a one mixture, but how do I use it? Now in North India, we have a one mixture we make from for various pudas, which we call. In South India, we have a variety from the same mixture. We create idli out of it. If it's a day one, it could be idli, day two, it could be dosa, day three, it could be utpam. At a different level of fermentation. So there's a zero waste. And there's a less cooking time on it. Now for designing vegetable and vegetable, it's important for us to add to our food chain. We design a sambar where all the various vegetables can be put in. So even you have one lady finger and one ghee, all you can put in sambar and becomes easily, you can give it to a child. And in North India, we always keep on fighting that I don't like kaddu and I don't like ghee, and that's how the food is designed. So suddenly when my perspective changed, that conflict of not liking South Indian food became liking for me because I know the perspective in which South Indian food is being cooked. The fifth block of personal effectiveness is respond versus react. There are many stories of respond versus react. When you come home and mother has cooked some food for you and you don't like that particular food, just continuing the same analogy which I was continuing, and mother has cooked some ghee and some other food item which you don't like, and suddenly you react to it. Mama, yesterday also you made the same thing and today also you made the same thing. And then you get angry, and that anger has resulted into spoiling your food and motherhood also. So whole evening gets spoiled. That's a reaction. How many times you react to such situations? With your friends, a friend would have sent you some SMS, suddenly you get reacted. Whenever something is not working for you, please calm down, give some pause, and respond to the adversity, than just reacting to the adversity. And that's when you are young at 17, 18, 19, I think it's a natural reaction. Our blood is hot, we immediately react. So a lot of serial episodes, TV episodes are very reactive in nature. It provokes us some reaction. I think we need to respond to the situations for design mind and personal effectiveness. Sixth element is fear. I talked about fear of not speaking in the classroom, fear of not asking questions in a classroom. Those are some sort of fears. There could be multiple fears that if somebody says, oh, professor says, I want to start a new project, or somebody comes up with the idea that this is a new invention, we want to do it, and we want to set up a startup, or I want to put up a stall, I want to conduct an event. So I want to do so sometimes we say, no, let us observe who participate. I don't want to commit myself to that particular project which is asked for, new initiative which is asked by the professor or by a club or by your friend. You didn't commit to yourself. It's a fear of commitment. If I commit, what will I do with the time? I have already busy schedule. Don't worry about your busy schedule. Schedule will always be busy. It's up to you to find out time and create space for the time, but I've said time management in a second space of enjoying work. Time management, same way in fourth space, you have to fear of commitment, fear of unknown, fear of failure. These are the typical fear in human mind. Get rid of those fears to have a personal effectiveness. Unless you experiment and try, you will not be able to drive a different Hanuman in you. You will experience your Hanuman within you, which nature has given when you overcome fear. The seventh element is limiting beliefs. During our growing up years, we start building limiting beliefs. These beliefs limits our capacity to perform. When I'm saying your dream is 2030 dream is to become a IAS officer, your dream is to become a senior as an entrepreneur, then the limiting belief would be, I don't have money, how do I become an entrepreneur? Limiting beliefs are so harmful for the human body. If I'm a vegetarian and there's a non-veg on the table, what is my reaction to the non-veg? My reaction to the non-veg would be a nausea. A nauseatic effect would be there when I looking at that non-veg item. But on the same table, if there's a non-vegetarian person sitting there, what will happen? He will be salivating. So the object is same. Because of my belief system, I will be nauseating, and somebody else's belief system, he will be salivating. And object is same. So my human body behaves the way, it's not based on the object which is there, it's based on my thinking process and perception about that product. And that's my limiting belief. That limiting belief, I cannot do this, I'm rural background, I'm from vernacular language, I cannot do this thing in, my other students knows English very well, they come from the better schools than what I came from. And these are the limiting beliefs one has to get off. Your human mind is the perfect mind. The eighth element of personal effectiveness is nothing but certificate of appreciation, magic of appreciation. If you want to win friends, make friends, you start observing the goodness around you. How many times in your life you have appreciated your father in writing? And my full question is, have you ever written to your father about the work he has done for you in his life, in your life, to your father in writing? Or sat down with him and told him that, Father, I like you and appreciate you. If you've not done it, do it today. Just observe one thing your father has done good for you and write it down on a sheet of paper. Over here, when I said certificate of appreciation, the certificate, we believe, our limiting belief is certificate of appreciation can be given by some institution. Like SRM college can give a certificate, or a sports club can give a certificate. As a human being, I can give a certificate to my parents, my brother, my sister, my mother, my friend in writing. And we do these exercises for the last students. That's the last test activity in 9th standard. And when we give this certificate, we give 5 certificates to them, a printed certificate on a paper, and they have to write 5 certificates. First of all, in India, we don't have a culture of appreciation. We have a scarcity mind, and we generally criticize what is not there. We don't say what is there, which you like so different. So to change the culture, since you're in first year of the college, change the culture of appreciation in SRM college. Start giving certificates of appreciation to whomsoever you like. You like your friend, you like your professor, you like something is done by sweeper in your college. Give it to somebody. You see the power. It's not that you need to have a certificate like this in a printed form. It could be a small piece of paper, slip of paper where you can do it. Just write, take out 5 slips of paper today. In the night when you go down, appreciate 5 people in your life who made a difference to you. Send them a mail or send them a paper in handwritten paper on a mail, and then see the magic of it. You will feel good about it, as well as the relationship with the people will go substantially and improve the appreciation and teamwork. So these are the 8 elements which is helping you to personal effectiveness. So moving from dream to your learning methods, then enjoying the work, and then personal effectiveness, which is having 8 elements: identifying positive, in me, my self-image, my Hanuman in me, handling doubts, resolving conflict, respond versus react, overcome fear, remove limiting belief, and magic of appreciation. Now I'm moving to final chapter, which is the chapter number 5, which is the most important for you in final year, but you need to start preparing now. When you are appearing in interviews, placements, it's about influencing and communication, the panels. So chapter 5 is a 4th year agenda, but you can't do anything in a 4th year. It has to start as of today, which is about influencing and communication. You have to influence the people around you and communicate. There's a beautiful book on influencing people by Napoleon Hill, I think. It's a very old book, but still as powerful book. So influencing and communication, how communication is so powerful. First thing is making first impression. How do you get a first impression when you meet a person? When you meet a person first time and shake hand with him, how do you make an impression about him, what he is? If you meet a driver on the street or some sweeper on the street, what is the impression you are making? Are you making an impression around driver that he is doing the driving, but he completed his BCom graduation and after that he is doing the driving? Do I ask that question to him? But you make an impression from his dress code, the way he appears, and the role he plays. And that is the first impression you get. First impression is the way you dress up, the way you shake hands with the confidence, shake hands with the confidence, and the first few sentences you speak is the first impression. You tell, my name is Arun Jain, my name is Nikunj, my name is so and so, I do so such and such things. So do you have 5 sentences written for you to introduce yourself in a writing? I'm Arun Jain, I'm a founder of Polaris. I created the banking products and I'm a software engineer and I'm coming from DCE. Is it memorized clearly to create a first impression? Because the more confidently you can speak about your credentials is a first impression. The dressing itself will make a difference. Whether your shirt is a white shirt, a blue shirt, a light shirt, it makes a difference in a way you get the impression. I'm seeing the dean picture on the screen with the tie and the whites with a proper jacket. That gives the impression of a confidence in him. Similarly, when you come to the classroom, we have a habit of using t-shirts, we may have a habit of jeans will be torn. It's all okay in college life, but I think when you are looking for a proper impression to be created, you need to have a right habit of having a iron clothing, and then you are having a, how do you introduce yourself, how you talk to other people. The first impression is the most important impression for first impression. And a lot of time we say, oh, it doesn't matter, yeah. I am what I am. The next thing is speak confidently. How many of you can speak in front of mic? Experiment it. Today there is a Zoom. There are so much opportunities there. You can create your videos. Try to take your videos on speaking on a particular topic, any topic of your choice. Pick up a topic of your choice, whether you like sports as a topic, you like cooking as a topic, you like politics as a topic. You pick up any topic whatsoever interests you. Physics as a topic, mathematics as a topic, botany as a topic, biology as a topic. Pick up any topic. Just speak for 15 minutes. Start from 5 minutes. If you can record 5 minutes and listen back to yourself, that can you flow, can you speak with a continuous 5 minutes without looking at a paper, or 3 minutes or 7 minutes, and keep practicing it. And that will help you to speak in any interview in the future. But start practicing from first year, so that 4th year you don't have to do when you are last minute there. Next thing is effective writing. How other person, when you write a mail to somebody, he makes an impression about you, whether the person is smart or not so smart. So how do you write a mail? How to write a proposal? Writing effectively. One way of writing effectively is to learn from somebody else. If you've seen somebody else who is writing effective mails, can you learn from those? Next is your designing presentations. In today's world, everything is presented. Professor asks you to present. Presentation is not about writing the content. Presentation is using visual infographics, some pictures like in the slides you are looking, some font, some colors, the way slides are designed. So designing presentation is by itself is a great art which you need to learn. I would recommend you to search for some training modules on designing presentations. So once you design the presentation, whatever you are learning about the chapters, you could put in the presentation form. It will do two things for you. You will be able to memorize your chapter well. And then when you present it well, and if you make some 30, 40, 50 presentation over the year, store in Google Drive, all this presentation, you will know from first year to fourth year how your presentation skills are going up day by day. A lot of people from Harvard University or Stanford University, they are good in making presentations. They've been taught from the school age how to do the presentations. So I would strongly recommend that presentation skills is the greatest skill. It's not about the story, it's about you, how do you present. Is equally important. So the story is important, content is important, but presentation is equally important. For building influencing and communication capabilities, you must actively participate in SRM clubs. SRM has provided so many clubs to you. Pick up a club of your choice and participate actively. Don't participate just as an audience, but be part of the organizing team. Create some new events, work with the events. It will make a huge difference to you in your life when you learn on it. And there's many opportunities in the college you'll find. And these clubs can also be available in COVID times. So don't worry about it. You can have a Zoom clubs within your community among the friends, the new friends you're forming. You can get some senior people in those clubs and create some opportunity of talking. So influencing and communication, I will say 5 things are there. Make first impression, speak confidently, effective writing, designing presentation, and participate in various clubs which your college provides. So I'll summarize: design mind of engineers. You need to understand learning methods, how human mind learns, how the planning and execution to enjoy work, how is my personal effectiveness, and how I do influence and communication. I will strongly recommend the 7 habits of highly effective people. And there's one book on engineering, The Goal. These 2 books I strongly recommend for you to read as a part of your library. I'll tell you one story in the end. The way you are joining the college, a young woman, when she joined first year in the college, after some 8-10 weeks, she went to the mother, I'm finding quite difficulty in my life. People are bullying me. They're talking to me differently. I'm not able to adjust to the new realities of the professor. On one side, I'm not being accepted in my group. On the other side, my teaching pressure is there. I'm not getting the right marks, and it's putting me under tremendous pressure. And I'm feeling very, very uncomfortable right now. So mother took her daughter to the kitchen and she put 3 boiling pots on the gas stove. In one boiling pot, she put it carrots. Second pot, she put it coffee bean. And in third pot, she put egg. And allow it to boil. Now, girl was saying, I am asking a simple question, mother, that I am very uncomfortable and I am very, very frustrating in the college. and you are keeping 3 boiling pots and allowing it to boil, and it's taking almost 15 minutes time to boil. And during this period of time, the girl was reacting, the word I mentioned, react versus respond. She was reacting to the situation and shouting back at mother that, why are you wasting time to me? If you don't want to tell me and you don't want to support me, just leave it to me, I'll take care of myself. Then after 15 minutes, she stopped the gas stove and she called the girl back and said, now this is a carrot, experience the carrot. So say, what do you mean by experience the carrot? She said, just see what changed in a carrot. So she said, carrot was hard when I put on boiling, and after boiling it become soft. And she says, now go to the egg. What happened to the egg? He said, egg was hard from the outside and liquid in the inside, and after boiling, it become, when you crack it, you have a solid material available inside the egg. Now he said, now you smell the third pot where you put the coffee bean. So what happened to the coffee bean? He said, coffee beans, I can't see the coffee bean here. I can see the aroma of the coffee. And that there are differences. So mother asked the question, what have you learned from these 3 examples? Do you want to be carrot, which was hard in the beginning and become soft? Or you want to be egg, which become brittle after the boiling? Because all 3 of them face the same adverse situation, the boiling water. The boiling water was same for all the 3 situations. But carrot behave differently, it becomes soft. Egg behave differently, it becomes brittle. And coffee bean has changed the environment around itself. They changed the water itself. The water which was the adversity, they changed the quality of the water itself. So my question to all of you is, when you join SRM, you want to be carrot, coffee bean, or egg? That's a decision I'll leave to you. And that's the design mind, the thought I want to leave with you.
I request now our Dean, College of Engineering and Technology, Dr. TV Gopal sir, to give a insight on this talk.
Yeah.
Dean, over to you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Anupama. Probably I've just spoken to BC now, to his secretary. Let me see whether he is able to reconnect. But in the meantime, I wanted to thank Mr. Arun Jain for his wonderful talk. It was really pleasure listening to you. And I think for the youngsters, for the young minds in the first years, it was an eye-opener, I would say. It was a very, thought-provoking lecture. Definitely at the 12th standard level, the students need all such things. And when I just saw the items that are to be kept in mind, especially how the mind learns and all, I think observation, listening, and all those things, now it is becoming very rare to see among the new generation youngsters. I think it's a very good lecture, and I request all the students also to keep all these points in mind, so that definitely they can build a career and also go up their ladder in their life. So thank you so much, sir, for your time and effort. And this is the second or third time I think I am listening to your lecture, but unfortunately I'm not able to meet personally and talk to you. Probably we will have a chance to meet sometime later. So thank you for the other participants, also the panelists who have been here, and the students also. I thank all the students for their participation.
Thank you, Dean sir. Should we, VC sir?
Ma'am, we'll wait for 2 minutes. Sir is disconnecting and joining us back.
Yes.
Specific question anybody has raised?
I'll just open the chat for students. Let them ask. They had so many queries. Which
Yeah.
just open the chat box now.
I request the participants to please post your questions which were related to the webinar so that our speaker would like to take up some questions from you. Sir, what is alma mater? How to control mind?
How to console mind?
How to control mind?
Yeah, so observe your mind basically. First of all, control mind is there's nothing called controlling mind. As soon as you say control mind, it will never be controlled. The more you observe your thought process, what kind of thoughts are coming in your mind? You start observing the thought and you say, this is the kind of thought which is positive for me, and these are thoughts not negative for me. If you start observing it and start telling to your mind start behaving the way what you like. So mind always love to give you the support, and it's a friend of you. If you just pick up those thoughts which are you want to work on, which is aligning to your dreams and your future designs. That's why designing is important. So once you design the mind, then all these thoughts will be much better aligned.
So there's one more question. How do we control getting distracted with our minds? How to avoid distractions?
Again, I would say the observation. As many times you get distracted, like say, when you are studying and you find distraction, each time when you are studying for 15 minutes and you're saying, I'm distracted 3 times, I'm distracted 5 times. The day you start observing that I distracted 5 times in 15 minutes, your next time it will become 4, and the next time it will become 3, next time it will become 2. The more you observe your thought process, the better you will be avoiding the distraction. But distraction is natural. Don't worry about distraction. It will happen in every mind. Distraction happens.
So I think a lot of things you said about reading practice. So the students want to know if there are any good books which can be in a different area. Some of them are asking for entrepreneurship. Some of them are asking regarding design, and some of them are asking about building their confidence. And also, if you could refer some books to them, that is what is their question.
Yeah, the first 2 books which I recommended in this session, 7 Habits of Effective Leadership from Stephen Covey. That's the first book one should read. Second is The Goal. And then once you start reading these 2 books, after that, I think for all the topics, we can recommend the books. Your professor can do it, or I can send a list of the books afterwards.
Great. So the one more question is like, how do we control our anxiety or the pressure which is come due to anxiety? That's one more question the student would like to ask you.
Yeah. So what is anxiety? Let's understand the root cause of the anxiety. Root cause of anxiety is a performance that you have to score 90% marks or 80% marks. Is that the source of anxiety? Or anxiety is you're not able to understand the subject well? Or anxiety is coming from time pressure or the delivery on time? So based on where the source of anxiety is there, you need to go back to our tool set. We are saying these are the 9 methods of learning. These are the element of enjoying work. And these are the personal effectiveness. And these are the influencing and communication. Pick up a particular tool to solve that particular anxiety by applying this tool set, what I have recommended to you. So this presentation you can share with all the students.
Yeah. So we will be uploading it and sharing the link to all the students. The one more question is like how to tackle failure. So I failed in certain situations. How do I tackle the failure?
Again, failure is definitely failure is disappointing to all of us. Nobody likes failure, and it is disappointing to all. Me personally, nobody wants to get failed. But if it failed, finally some results are not there and we fail, we just need to accept it and move on. Acceptance is the first principle of handling failure. The more you accept, the better you are for the failure perspective. If failure is happening because of not hard work you put in, that's a one part of it. But use failure as a learning process, because I think the more the failures are there, sometimes you learn better. Like when I set up a Nucleus or Polaris, we have enough failures during our journey when I'm setting up this company. When we are going to new country, we may not do everything right in the first instance. When I go to the Germany or when I go to France and delivering some customers, their way of delivering was very different from Germany. The expectation was very different. We failed in first 30 days. But how do you recover from this failure and say, oh, this is an opportunity for learn? It means Germans are better, mature people to design the software. And we learned 7 techniques from them on designing the software from Germany. So each failure is a learning opportunity.
Competition or collaboration, which is the right mantra for success?
Competition, we call it in a modern that you need to compete anyway, because you have to perform better than others. So when you are looking IPL, there is a competition happening every day. But all the players, young players are learning from all the foreign players who are coming here. And how do you use that learning opportunity from competition and become collaborative with those people? That's what makes the Indian team great team today.
So one last question, which many of them are being putting, is like, how do we stop daydreaming? It's like, I understand it's a very big question, but many have again and again put that question. How do we? Basically, they're trying to ask, how do they control their mind and fix it up to any one particular goal? How do they work on a particular goal? How do they stop flickering with their minds?
That's why this first, I think, draw the picture. Sometimes we are not clear about what we want to be. Daydreaming is a clarity of the future is not there in front of us. So if you look at the first slide I mentioned about is, visualize you are to 2030. You take out a time and sit down in a corner of the room and take a big sheet of paper. Draw the visual diagram by pen and pencil, what comes to you, color pens. You paint the picture of 2030 and where you are sitting, where Anshu is sitting, where Ashok is sitting, where Srinivasan is sitting. You put yourself and that see how the world look like. You wake up in the morning on 2030 and draw it. Draw visually. Don't put any words to it. Just draw visually. And then you put a dream to it. When you start drawing the picture, you will find that you are not clear that what you want to be. And since you're not clear, it results into daydreaming. Once you're clear, mindset is clear that you want to be greatest software engineer and you want to be doing certain strong thing in software, or you want to be great mechanical engineer, any discipline you want to pick up, the more the clarity is, it's not that in 10 years you will not change your vision and visualization because you will meet new friends and you will change according to them. But put something in visual diagram and keep it with you. Even if you don't relook at it, it gets imprinted into your subconscious mind. And when you write a dream in words, choose the dream into some 7-8 words. Don't use just one thing, IAS officer. Put a dream in a form of saying, I want to become IAS officer. And what is the purpose of becoming IAS officer? Is just a position which is the purpose? Or I want to serve community better is the purpose of the IAS officer. So if you put a dream saying, I want to serve the community and that's why I want to become IAS officer, that will be helpful for us.
Thank you, sir. I think most of the other questions, if you again relook into sir's presentation, you get to know about it, which will be uploaded. Nikunj will be sharing you the link where the video will be uploaded. Now I request our Pro VC sir to please share a few words. Pro VC sir, sorry, our Chancellor sir. Vice Chancellor sir.
Good morning, Arun Jain Sahab. Good morning, all my dear colleagues and students. A big thank you to Shri Arun Jain Sahab for exciting the young minds with lots of new things. Even I have attended the program in full. I have almost noted down everything which you have said, Arun Jain Sahab. And I think this is what we need to do to our young people. And the kind of questions which I'm now trying to see on the chat, I think it's endless and it's very inquisitive in terms of what they want to understand and get out of what you have said. I'm really thankful to you for this session, and I'm sure you will give us more time and again to charge our batteries, and make us feel more comfortable and excited with our profession, our work, our life. I can't say more in the sense of saying how thankful are we to you for doing all this great session. And I'm sure my students must have loved it. I'm also sure that if you have some collective questions, we can possibly write to Jain Saab, and possibly we'll get some more details and answers from him. And once again, big thank you to you, Jain Saab. Look forward to meeting you sometime. And thanks to my students also for joining in big numbers and their questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Namaskar.
Thank you, sir.